Welcome to Born to be a Sports Agent, where I deliver legal and contract insight for sports professionals navigating hiring, firing, injury, and representation. Hi, we have Courtside Counsel, and they're going to be talking about a very important topic that deals with international students and all the visas that they have to deal with to come over here and play a particular sport, and how that process works from going from a student to a pro athlete. So I'm going to let
Thank you so much, Jade. So that case is an excellent segue into our conversation with the P1 visas, which really pertains to moving into the professional world of sports and our athletes. So the P1 visa generally is a very common athletic form of the visa, but it can also apply to entertainment and some specific fields within that. Of course, today our discussion is going to focus on the P1 visa as it pertains to athletics, specifically the P1A visa. So with the P1A, this is a non-immigrant classification of visa, and it includes individual athletes within the international recognized community of sports. And so it includes international recognition for reputation and members of an athletic team that has international recognition as well. So under this visa, the athlete or the team must be coming to the United States to participate in an athletic competition that has what we call distinguished reputation. And we will break that down a little bit more as we go. But this requires that the athlete or the athletic team be coming to participate in a competition with international reputation. So again, something to keep in mind with this particular visa is that the athlete has to be coming to the United States temporarily in order to solely perform at a specific athletic competition. So this can include an individual athlete that has an internationally recognized level of performance. This can include an athlete that is already part of a group or a team with an internationally recognized level of performance. It can be a professional athlete with this distinguished qualification and reputation. And it can even be a coach. And again, we'll get into these different categories a little bit more as well. But it can apply to a wide range of positions within the sports world to promote participation in these internationally recognized events. So talking about the athletes specifically, and also what we mean by international recognition, because I know we've already used that term a few times. So a qualifying athlete under a P1 visa is going to be one who performs at an internationally recognized level of performance. And the competition that the team that is participating in must have a distinguished reputation at that international recognition level. And so applicants for this visa are typically going to show international recognition through things like rankings, contracts, press coverage could even help, championships, sponsorships, things of that nature. So in order to show the international recognition, it requires that the athlete or the team that's going to be participating be among the distinguished in the sport. And so ways that we can show that and consider that would include like the level of viewership for the sporting event that the individual is seeking a visa to come compete in, the attendance or revenue at that sporting event, major media coverage of the event or anticipated for the event, the past participation of internationally recognized athletes or teams can help contribute to establishing the event is of the international recognized status, and also the international rankings of the athletes that would be competing, and any merit requirements for participation in the sport can also help show that as well. So one interesting component when we're trying to establish the international recognition of the competition is that if a competition is open to all competitors at all skill levels, that could actually be a negative in order to determine eligibility for the visa for that competition. And it does make sense when you think through that, because again, with this visa, we're looking for some of the most professional athletes and most professionally developed in their area of expertise within the sports realm. So if we have a competition that has a little bit more of a relaxed structure for entry or competition, that's not going to meet the level of recognition and requirement that we need for qualification. So we really are looking at these events that have these major signs, if you will, of recognition as far as viewership, participation, interest, all of these things can help establish that at a higher level. So for this visa, you can qualify for the visa as a professional athlete, an amateur athlete, or even as a coach. And the requirements within each of those distinctions can be a little bit different. So starting with our already established professional athletes, they can qualify for this visa if they're coming to the United States to be employed as an athlete, either by a team that is a member of an association of 6 or more professional sports teams with combined revenues of exceeding $10 million per year, or any minor league team that is affiliated with the major association. And for our amateur athletes and our coaches, those individuals must be coming to the United States to perform as an athlete or a coach as part of a team or franchise that is within the United States and is a member of a foreign league or association. So the foreign league or association, that is the way that we're looking to qualify, must consist of 15 or more amateur sports teams. Participation in the league must make the players temporarily or permanently ineligible under the NCAA rules to either earn a scholarship in the sport at a U.S. college or university, or participate in the sport otherwise at a U.S. college or university. And the league or association has to be the highest level of amateur performance of that sport in the relevant foreign country. And finally, a significant number of the individuals who play within that league or the association would be drafted by a major league or a minor league affiliate. So for the amateur athletes and coaches, we have a few more factors that we might be looking at to qualify for the P1 visa. But when we're establishing again that these are not only solidified professional abilities of the players, but also the leagues that they may be coming already established with, and the competitions that they would be contributing to in the United States. All of these things collectively can add to the establishment of qualification for this visa. So in general, for this type of visa, we are going to need some level of evidence. So we've already talked about that a little bit so far, but in addition to submitting the required paperwork to qualify for the visa, there would be a few more factors to basically prove up that this is an event and a competition that would qualify for this recognition status for this specialized visa. So some things that would need to be submitted along with the application would be it could be a written consultation form from labor organizations that might be involved. It can be copies of written contracts or summaries of oral agreements that maybe have already been negotiated with a potential employer. An explanation of the events and the activities, including the beginning of the competition, the end of the competition. All of those details make a difference. And then any additional documentation that may be requested. And in addition to our evidence, we would also be looking for the employer that would be employing the international athlete, or their agent would need to file the form I-129, which is a petition for a non-immigrant worker, and then also submit fees and those additional supporting documentations that we talked about. So the fees can vary, and typically they fluctuate, but commonly can be almost $3,000 to start. And so you would have those fees. Some filing and administrative fees can also come with that too. But again, the employer or the agent or the sponsor would be the ones responsible for submitting those forms, helping get the documentation together, and making sure that's submitted timely. So with that, I think we are ready to turn to our O1 visa option.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going after student visas.
Last minute, this is, but yeah, you're right.
So just to add a little bit more about the F1 visa, the F1 athletes can they can work on campus, they can use curricular and practical training, or they can use the optical practical training, but they can't just freely sign professional contracts. They can't work commercially without authorization, or even compete professionally while remaining a student under some league rule. The application process is fairly extensive, and so the students first receive admission from school. Once they have that secured, then they obtain a form called I-20. They have to pay the required studies fees. They have to complete the visa application, which is titled VS 160. And then they have to attend an embassy interview, and they have to enter the US and maintain status. And this SEVI's student exchange visitor program, they actually collect, maintain, and they analyze and provide information so that only legitimate foreign students or exchange visitors can gain entry to the United States. It is a program that a lot of like my partner mentioned, a lot of the universities work with, and they also ensure that the institutions that are accepting the non-immigrant students are certified and that they follow the federal rules and regulations that govern them. And they manage a system, a database, where they keep all the information and they maintain and allow monitoring of the following records, such as what schools are certified with SEVP, and they also go ahead and list all the visitor program sponsors. And so it's something you have to keep up with, and you potentially could get into trouble if you do obtain employment without
Which is where the NIL becomes a problem.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to shift, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to shift to the O1 because Marlon's here. So can you shift to the O1, and when do you think, because this is the question that has to be asked, when should an international player who is currently playing at a college have to start this O1 process? Because that's a whole different ball game that a lot of people don't understand.
Well, there's a lot of developments in O1. Right?
Okay.
There are a lot of similarities between P1 and the O1. Right?
Okay.
But the difference is with O1, you have to prove that the players at the top of their game, that they're an extraordinary talent.
Okay.
And a lot of the ways that they've been going around this NIL shift is they've been pitching the idea this kid is extraordinary.
Okay.
So if you're a combat sports player, right, which doesn't have title recognition on an international level sometimes, or maybe a kicker for a team, you might not be competing on teams that get the international recognition. You need to obtain a P1 visa, but O1 visas, they come in two forms. You have the O1A, which is for athletics, business, science, and education. You got the O1B, which is arts, entertainment, and film industry. It allows you this flexibility in the way that your abilities are framed to, well, it was an idea that was created by this guy research named Sherrod Seward, who said, if you can creatively describe the talents of this athlete, this future, superstar, you're already making a league of their own. You can collect now, with the age of digital media, a digital footprint that will show that they have that international recognition. And you only have to tick off 2 of the boxes out of like 7 of the boxes in order to get them recognized, right? So you build this case of evidence showing that they're recognized for being extraordinary in their field, which allows them to come over more easily. But here's the thing, if they want to get paid for it, because all this is very expensive.
Yes, yes.
There is the possibility of them working as a sole proprietor, being sponsored by US agents. What he did, the Sherrod Seward, is he started his own talent agency where he became the US agent that signs on the talent to bring them over as an independent contract.
Oh, I see. In
And-
the entertainment industry.
Yeah, so I watched this on a podcast a month ago, and he said that litigation would be in effect in 2 weeks. So I think it was 2 weeks ago that the hearing must have been had, but what Customs Immigration was saying is you can no longer just do this, you have to tell us where they're gonna be playing for the next 3 years.
Okay, gotcha.
How are we gonna know this?
Okay,
right?
but here's my understanding,
Mhm.
because with this is happening with the Australian punters. In December, if they're a senior, their scholarship is not going to exist anymore because they graduated. But they're not going to get drafted or get an undrafted free agent opportunity until April. So there's this time period between them no longer being a student and the draft.
Right,
And so when the Australian guys were over here, they said you have to apply for an O1 visa. Okay, so that once you're off your scholarship, you have this O1 status. So you're already here on a student visa. Then you're moving to this O1 status. So how do you think somebody is going to do this, and how long is it going to take?
and how are they gonna get paid in the process to afford all the things that they need to afford in order to compete at the level that they're.
Well, they're just going to be training for the draft.
Right, well, the training costs a lot of money too. And
So how long do you think that's going to take?
A really, really long time. I actually emailed the gentleman that I just spoke about and I asked him, I said, has there been any extra congestion in
Uh-huh.
it? Also, what duties do agents and attorneys owe to their clientele to protect them from like ICE immigration
Yes.
enforcement, things like that. I haven't heard back yet because it was short notice. But what he did say is how you can get paid is you open up something similar to an LLC back in your home country. Now, this puts a lot of burden on the athlete. You're flying back and forth and doing your training all the time because when you do your ads or promos, if you get it sponsored through a company and they're paying that LLC, you actually have to fly back there because you can't do it while you're here in the US because you can't really get paid for it, right? So that's that transition between the students and the O1, that kind of ambiguous quasi area, as I understand it. But with it, social media, it's making things a little bit easier. One, to provide documentation, two, to open up the storefront, if you will, for your own branding.
Okay.
So if you're going to apply for an O1, P1, or even a student visa, you're gonna have to start your branding and your digital footprint way before that. So your question of how early should I start? Well, yesterday.
Okay.
You
Got
know?
it. Immediately when they come over here to punt, they should start creating some kind of sounds like a business or.
They should have started it before they came over here, just to get the evidence, have the place where they can get paid for, and show that security and that stability while they're here, which covers them in the interim. Because we don't know exactly how.
But can you go from this P1 to O1 status? Because what one of the athletes told me is I've got to go P1, I'm sorry, student visa to O1 and then to P1. Like that's the process. That's their process so that they don't have to go back to Australia.
Extraordinary abilities and then national recognition, because you're not gonna get hired in competitive tournaments that are internationally recognized. I think you have to be recognized in, I believe, 2 different countries where you've won an award or a title or something like that in order to be recognized as an extraordinary ability. That's what this documentation of influencing and the NIL all bring together to make it easier for the O1. So it's almost shifting. It used to be that you go P1, O1, because now you're on a national team, but now you're the best of your national team. You're like the, the big kahuna.
Yeah.
So now you can get the O1.
Okay.
But it's kind of reversing now with the invention of social media and digital footprints and stuff like that, and creative strategies from agents and lawyers, which also we have to be the whole team in and of ourselves. We have to run defense and punt and throw and receive and do all the different things. And realm of being lawyer, being agent, being social media brand director, being,
Right, the
social-
agent has to be ready to fill all these roles to represent an international
Right,
athlete.
so the burden goes up both on the athlete, both on the agent.
Right,
When you decide to take on international clients.
okay, well, that's a really, really important point for anyone in here who's wanting to represent international players, those of you who are interested in the soccer. You guys are interested in representing international athletes. So is there anything else you want to add? Because we're gonna go ahead.
I do want to add to that.
Uh-huh.
So another avenue to getting from F1 to O1 would be doing the OPT, the optional practical training. That gives you the ability to get a legal work authorization after graduation that will help you build achievement, get recognition. It would buy you more time. And in that time, you can collect recommendation letters, you can secure a sponsorship. And so that will give you the ability to work.
And how long does that take? Because I feel like that process takes time. It doesn't just happen in a week.
So right now, the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, their recommendation right now is for at least to transfer to the O1 visa, it needs to be started at least 45 days
Okay.
before the first day of employment. So what they're
Gotcha.
looking for now, recommendation might be to start a little bit earlier because this could
Yes.
include you have to be able to submit your itineraries for what you're going to be doing. Your consultation appointment, they may also consult not only with the player, but also with the agent or the employer who's submitting the documentation on their behalf. So you might need to allow some extra time for process, but they do say right now that it needs to be to avoid delays no less than 45 days.
Okay.
That form I-129 needs to be filed.
And they need to be gathering, see, this is my theory, you gotta be gathering all the information. So once that day one starts, you can get all the information in and the time starts to run. And I think that's the message that I'm sending to any Australian punters out there. You better start this in October. Because December, I would say October is the date.
And some of that transition, why it might be recommended to do the student, the O1 to P1 pipeline, is because by doing the O1 as kind of the intermediary in between, it has a little bit more flexibility to meet that standard because again, the P1 has that heightened international recognition that you have to meet. So when you're just coming out of your student visa and you're playing potentially collegiate athletics, you may not have yet that being able to show that you're going to compete at an internationally recognized level or have that backing to be able to jump straight from a student visa to a P1. Now, if we have an absolutely incredible athlete, which I know there are many out there, they may be able to establish some of that, but in general,
they're gonna have film, they're gonna have a coach that says that, and then I think their sponsor is gonna have to be their agent, if you really want the truth.
Yeah, interest letters.
Right? I think those are the things that have to be put in place in order for this to happen.
But the whole process from F1 to O1 to P1 could be years.
Years.
Yes. Well, I mean, you have to go to school.
Well, I know, yeah, they're playing at a school, okay, but now they're a senior, they're graduating from college, and there's this little time period, and Marlon knows about this time period between, you're done with playing in college, and now you're getting ready for the draft. And it's a real tricky thing for international students. They do have international spots though on every team now on the practice squad, which is something new. And I think any of those players could fill one of those spots. So it's gonna be a process that agents need to know how to deal with. Some of whom don't know how to deal with it because it's a little tricky.
Thanks for listening to Born to Be a Sports Agent, where we discuss relevant legal issues, contract issues, and discuss representation for everyone in sports. This is Jill McBride Baxter, and my core values are protection, advocacy, and trust. If you are looking for representation and you need someone to take you where you can't take yourself, please go to my website at jillmcbridebaxter.com or email me at jillbaxter@me.com and set up a meeting for a free consultation. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic week and good luck in sports.